Okay, so it's the time to create our first function app through Azure portal, and I'm going to click on create resource, and we have function app here. I'm creating a new resource group, and inside that we'll deploy this. The name of the function app, let's say I'm giving Maruti first func app 1, and that's fine. We'll publish through code. Runtime stack here has a couple of options. As we discussed in the previous video, we have different options available here. We have .NET Core, which means C#, Node.js is for JavaScript, Python, Java, and PowerShell is also there. Let's choose .NET Core so that we can get the C# code in that. And then in the version, we are choosing 3.1. The region which is associated with this thing, let's choose Central US only. We are okay with that, and we'll click on next. The moment I click on next, you can see it's showing me that to store the code, the piece of code which you're going to write inside your functions, to store that code, you need to associate this thing with the storage account. You can choose your existing storage account if you have, or in my case, I'm creating new one. Which kind of operating system you want to use while hosting these functions? I am choosing Windows. And then here is that particular drop down, which is making sure that this one is going to be serverless. Now, if I choose consumption plan, it's going to cost me only when I execute my function. And this costing will be based on the time of that execution, which is already occupied by that particular code. Now, if I choose consumption, technically, I do not need to pay any amount until unless I execute that thing. And suppose if I go with app service plan, it's something like this, that if I have any existing app service plan, I can choose that thing. And in that case, because I'm already having an app service plan, technically function app will be free because it's not going to cost me anything extra even if I run functions inside that. If you want to go with the premium one and you want really high compute with this, you can go with the premium and you can choose a dedicated compute for your function app. But in my case, I'm choosing consumption so that it's going to be based on the execution. Do we need monitoring right now? No, we do not want to do monitoring right now. We'll move forward and we'll click on create. Remember, the thing which we are creating right now is a function app, and one function app can have multiple functions inside that. So number of functions will be more inside this. You can have as many number of functions you want to create in this, but all these functions will follow the same runtime stack, which is .NET Core 3.1. Okay, my function app is deployed. Let's click on go to resource. And inside this is going to show me that I have functions, proxies, and slots. There are three kind of things are there. Inside the functions, I will surely not have any function right now. So the first thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this plus icon. It's asking me how would you like to create a function. You want to use Visual Studio, you want to use Visual Studio Code, or you want to go with the in-portal editor. Now, if you do not want to use any of these tools, you can go with in-portal. And literally you can write your code, test your code, and you can see the logs associated with that within the portal itself. Not only that, Microsoft is also giving you a couple of ready-made templates available here. As we know that Azure Functions works with the triggers, and every time the execution of the code will happen on the particular trigger. By default, right now we have two different templates, which is webhook plus API and timer. And if I click on more templates, we have more than 30 plus templates available within the portal itself. Let me click on webhook plus API, and this will going to be like a normal REST-based API where I can deal with the get, post, put, delete operations with HTTP. I'm going to click on create. My function is created, and you can see this is a function which is HTTP trigger 1 function inside this list of functions. And it's having some basic C# code inside this. As you can check, we have libraries which are coming from .NET Core, and also we have some libraries which are NuGet packages, as well as system.NET, which is a .NET library. We can use .NET, .NET Core, or any NuGet package which is based on C# into this particular code. We have a very simple asynchronous task created inside this, which is having a name run. And every time when this function is getting triggered, it's going to execute this function and it's going to call this run method inside that. This run method is trying to get the values from my query string, and the name of the parameter associated with that is name. And if I'm passing any name, it's simply going to print hello plus that name, or if I'm not passing anything, then it's going to print, please pass a name in the query string or in the request body. So this is a very basic hello world kind of sample which they have given us. The thing which I want you to understand is exactly below this section we have logs and console. Or your function is getting called with the help of trigger, then this logs are going to show you, then this log window is going to show you all the logs here. Same way, if I scroll at right side, we have a section which is for view files and taste. This view files is very much similar to your solution explorer of your Visual Studio, where it's showing you all the files. You can add new files, you can have multiple C# files, and the extension of the C# files will be CSX. Do not get confused with the extension because this is pure C# only. The configuration of function is done by function.json file. If you check on this left side, the function.json file is telling me that this is a function which is HTTP triggered, and it can do get and post kind of operations in this. Also, if any other parameters are associated with this function, we can define this here. Every time when you change the template of the function, or while creating a function from portal, if you choose a particular template, this function.json file configuration will get changed based on the template. Right now, let's see whether this function is running or not. Let's click on this URL, which is get function URL. We have a full URL associated with that. Let me copy this URL. And in a separate tab of my browser, if I directly hit this URL, it's showing me please pass a name or a query string or a request body. Now I need to pass a name. Now if you notice this URL, it's already having one query string parameter which is code, which is nothing but a unique token for authentication. I am passing one more parameter in this using ampersand, and I'm saying the name which I want to pass is mental stack, which is the name of our website. And if I hit enter, it's going to show me hello mental stack. Now this is something which is telling me that just now when I have pasted this URL in the browser, and if I'm hitting enter in that, I am actually executing this function twice. And logically I have to pay for only 2 executions right now. Immediately the moment your code is working and the function is getting triggered, you can utilize this thing. Same way, if I click on this plus, I have plenty of templates available in this, in which I have a normal Azure functions, and as well as we have something called durable functions also. Like you can see, I have a functions which are Q storage triggered, we have Azure blob storage triggered functions, we have Cosmos DB triggered functions. Now let's say right now I do not have any Cosmos DB in this account, but if I scroll up, we have something called blob storage triggered. And we know that when we created this function app, it was creating one storage account also with this. So I know that there is a storage account which is associated with this function app, and let me configure a blob storage trigger function now. If I click on this, it's going to ask me that what will be the name of that function, and then which kind of path you're looking for. A name of the function by default is blob triggered one. I'm okay with that. And it's asking me that which kind of path you're looking for. Now this path will be the name of the container with which you want to associate. Whatever name by default they have given, I can change it, but I'm not changing it. I'm just copying this name so that I can use it somewhere. And then the name of the connection string while creating and connection with the storage account, it will be this one, so I'm okay with that. We'll click on create, and then it's going to create a new function now inside the same function app. So you can see one function app can have multiple functions. The first one was HTTP trigger, and this one is a blob trigger one. It's just having one line inside this, is having a run method inside which we have parameters which are taking that blob and then printing the name of the blob with the size of the blob. And if I just move it right side, you can see that this time also in the view files we have run.csx file and we have function.json file. But this time the configuration of this function.json file will be different, because this is not an HTTP triggered. We do not have something like get, post and all. Instead of that, we have a type of the function which is blob triggered, and the path of that function which is sample-work items. That's the name of the container which it is looking for. This is showing me that if I change my function.json file, then it's going to change the way the execution of this function is going to happen. To check whether this is working or not, I need to check one thing. I'm just going to click on integrate at the left side panel. And if I expand the documentation section, it's going to show me that the storage account which is connected with this function app is actually storage account train B031. Okay, so I want to go into the storage account and I want to do something with that. Let me open a resource groups in the new tab. So I'm keeping my one tab open in the browser, which is actually having this function. Also, let's do one thing. Up to this point, we have not triggered this function anytime, and I'm just keeping this logs open here. In the separate tab, I'm going inside my resource group, training RG, and then inside that, I'm just looking at this storage account, which is storage account train B031. Inside that, we have storage explorers, in which we can create containers, tables, file shares, and all. I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to say I want to create a new blob container. Let me give a name of the blob container, which will be exactly same what I have copied from that sample-work items. The access level for this, let's say I'm giving container level access, and then I'm going to click on create. If you're not familiar with storage account, just go through my Azure Fundamental course. Otherwise, in the same course also, after one module, we'll focus on the storage accounts. If I expand, I have a sample-work items. This is that container, and my function is continuously looking for this particular container. Let me upload one file into this. So I'm going to click on upload. We'll choose one of the file from our machine. I'm choosing one of the file, and then I'm going to say overwrite this file if it's already there, and click on upload. The moment we upload this thing, the size of the file is around 2 MB, and then the moment we upload this thing, automatically this is a moment when my Azure function is going to get triggered, because we have created function which is a blob trigger function. So the moment this is getting uploaded into this, immediately I want to switch to my function app, and I just want to wait here. Now you can see the moment I came to this function app, it's showing me that okay, you have uploaded one file which is with this name, and the size of that file is actually this one. So this name and size which we are printing into this, they are just triggering that function, and they are printing this thing here. Now this is showing me that my Azure function can technically connect with almost anything on Azure, and it has a couple of triggers associated with that thing. I hope you understood this. Thank you.